The ventilation ducts above apartment block C19 screamed again at exactly 03:12 colony time. Elias Varn didn't even look up anymore. On Vera 9, everything screamed eventually. Metal screamed. Pipes screamed. Sometimes people screamed too, but management usually categorized that as stress-related audio pollution. Elias tightened the plasma coupler beneath the kitchen sink, while rusty water dripped onto his shoulder. "If this thing explodes," he muttered, "I'm haunting the maintenance department." "You already look like a ghost," Lyra said from the table without lifting her eyes from her notebook. He glanced back at her. "Thank you. That's the sweetest thing anyone said to me this month." Their apartment was barely larger than a cargo container. Weak orange lights flickered against the steel walls, and outside the circular window, endless mining towers crawled across the dark surface of the colony like giant skeletal insects. Far above them, Vera 9 fractured orbital ring glowed faintly against the stars. Lyra sat cross-legged in her chair, drawing again, always drawing, not flowers, not animals, never childish things, star maps, perfect ones. Entire systems Elias had never seen before spiraled across the pages in silver ink stolen from his engineering kits. She drew impossible gravitational routes and strange symbols around dying suns like someone remembering directions home. "You should sleep," he said. "You should shave." "That hurts." "It's true." He snorted quietly and returned to the pipe. The sink immediately burst open with enough force to spray black water directly into his face. Lyra finally looked up. "The sink won." "I'm raising a tiny comedian," Elias groaned. "You're raising a tired engineer who lost a fight to plumbing." "Fair." He wiped his face with a rag while she returned calmly to drawing. The strange thing was how normal moments like this almost made him forget the other things. The glowing lines beneath her skin, the way electronics activated when she walked nearby, the nightmares. Sometimes he woke in the middle of the night and found her standing beside the apartment window staring at the stars without blinking, like she was listening. The colony sirens suddenly blared overhead, not maintenance alarms, impact alarms. Elias froze. Outside the window, red emergency lights ignited across the mining district. A distorted voice echoed through public speakers. "Unauthorized atmospheric entry detected. All citizens seek." The announcement cut off violently. The entire apartment trembled. Then came the sound, not thunder, not engines, something deeper, a noise so enormous it felt alive. Elias stepped toward the window slowly. Above Vera 9 atmosphere, the stars were disappearing. Something massive descended through the clouds. At first it looked like a moon. Then the fire spread across its surface. The object unfolded mechanically as it entered the atmosphere, revealing colossal black structures beneath layers of burning metal. Entire sections moved like bones shifting under flesh. Blue light pulsed through enormous veins running across its hull. A ship? No. A floating nightmare. People flooded the streets below, screaming and pointing upward. Cargo haulers overturned. Security drones spiraled out of control as gravity fluctuations rippled through the colony. Elias felt his stomach tighten. He had worked orbital construction for 16 years. No civilization built ships that large anymore. The war had erased empires capable of engineering things like that centuries ago. Behind him, Lyra quietly closed her notebook. "You know," she said softly, "this is probably bad." He turned toward her sharply. She wasn't afraid. That terrified him more than the ship. Another violent tremor shook the apartment. Outside, the sky burned crimson as the enormous vessel descended lower through the clouds. Colony defense cannons rose from hidden platforms and fired streams of plasma upward. The blasts vanished before impact, not blocked, swallowed. The ship absorbed the energy without slowing. Elias grabbed his emergency toolkit and rushed toward the closet. "We're leaving." "Smart. You sound weirdly calm about this." "I had a feeling today would become inconvenient." "Lyra, what? You can't casually say terrifying things." She shrugged innocently. The lights suddenly died. Complete darkness swallowed the apartment. Then something illuminated outside. A massive circular symbol formed beneath the descending ship, glowing across the clouds in white gold light. Strange geometric patterns stretched for kilometers above the colony. Lyra stared at it silently. Elias noticed the silver color slowly appearing inside her eyes. Not reflection. Light. Actual light. The room temperature dropped. Static crackled across the walls. And then Lyra whispered something that made his blood turn cold. They finally found me. A colossal shockwave struck the colony. The apartment window exploded inward. Far beyond the shattered glass, descending through fire and smoke toward the streets of Vera 9, a single dark figure emerged from the burning sky. Elias grabbed Lyra's arm the moment the shockwave hit. Move. That usually means something terrible is happening. Excellent observation. The apartment corridor outside was chaos. Emergency lights pulsed red through clouds of smoke, while colony residents shoved past each other toward the lower transit tunnels. Somewhere above them, metal screamed as another gravitational surge rippled through the station. A security drone crashed through the ceiling directly in front of Elias. It twitched once, then exploded. Lyra blinked at the burning remains. I think it died. Yes, thank you, I gathered that. He pulled her forward through the corridor, while alarms echoed endlessly through the structure. The entire building groaned like it might collapse at any second. Outside the cracked side windows, the impossible warship hovered above Vera 9 like a second sky. Closer now, much closer. Its surface shifted constantly, black metallic plates moving like muscle beneath skin. Thousands of dim blue lights pulsed across the hull in patterns Elias couldn't understand. The thing looked alive. That thought alone nearly stopped him in place. Then every light in the corridor suddenly flickered off. Darkness swallowed everything. A deep metallic sound vibrated through the walls. Not language, not exactly. More like reality itself trying to speak. People around them froze, even the screaming stopped. Then came footsteps. Slow, heavy, approaching from the far end of the corridor. The emergency lights sputtered back online one by one, illuminating the hallway in red flashes. The figure standing there nearly filled the passage. Black armor curved across her body like polished bone, breathing slowly as if the suit itself possessed lungs. Beneath sections of the living metal, dark blue skin glimmered faintly, with moving constellations trapped beneath the surface. 4 elongated arms rested behind her back with unnatural stillness, and crown-like metallic horns swept backward from her skull. Her silver eyes settled directly on Lyra. Not Elias, Lyra. Everyone else in the corridor backed away instinctively. The alien warrior tilted her head slightly. There you are. Elias stepped in front of his daughter, immediately despite the fact the warrior looked capable of tearing open tanks with her bare hands. Absolutely not. The warrior stared at him silently. You oppose me. Yes. You are aware I crossed 3 galaxies to retrieve the child. That sounds expensive. Lyra quietly tugged Elias' sleeve. I like her voice. Now is not the time. The warrior's gaze shifted between them with visible confusion. You speak casually while standing before death. Elias pointed at the ceiling. Lady, I've lived on a mining colony for 16 years. Terror stopped being special around year 2. For the first time, something strange crossed the alien's face. Not anger, almost curiosity. Behind them, another explosion shook the colony. The warrior finally spoke again. The girl must come willingly. The endless dominion requires its heir. Pretty sure my daughter already has plans. I do, Lyra asked. You go to school. Oh right, tragic. The alien's glowing eyes narrowed slightly. She carries the bloodline of the eternal throne. She carries overdue homework too. Life is complicated. A loud crack suddenly echoed through the station. The corridor floor bent upward violently. Gravity distortion. People screamed as loose debris floated into the air around them. Elias nearly lost balance while nearby wall panels tore themselves free from the structure. But Lyra remained perfectly still, at the center of it all. The floating debris slowly began orbiting around her. The warrior stared. The living armor along her body tightened visibly. "So it is true," she whispered. Elias looked back at Lyra in horror. Silver light now flowed through the thin veins beneath her neck. Her notebook, still tucked under one arm, began flipping pages by itself. The drawn star maps inside glowed faintly blue. Then every screen in the corridor activated simultaneously. Emergency monitors, broken advertisements, dead security panels, all displaying the same message in ancient, unfamiliar symbols. The warrior lowered one knee slowly before Lyra. Every civilian nearby gasped. Elias blinked. Did the giant, terrifying space conqueror just bow to my kid? Lyra leaned sideways to look at him. "I think I outrank you now. Don't abuse this power." The warrior spoke without looking away from Lyra. "The throne has awakened to her presence." "The what?" Before anyone answered, the entire colony shook harder than before. A deafening mechanical roar echoed from outside. The warship above Vera 9 was opening. Massive sections of its underside unfolded like petals, revealing an enormous circular structure glowing deep within the vessel. Elias felt cold instantly, because he recognized it, not the technology, the shape. Lyra had been drawing it for years, perfectly. The warrior rose again slowly. "My name is Valeth of the Ninth Dominion Fleet," she said, "and if we remain here, this colony will die within the hour." "Wonderful," Elias muttered. "I was worried tonight might become stressful." Valeth ignored him. "The others have already sensed her awakening." The others? For the first time since arriving, genuine tension appeared in the alien warrior's expression. "There are civilizations in this galaxy that would burn entire star systems to possess your daughter." A distant sound interrupted her, a low, echoing screech from somewhere high above the colony. Valeth suddenly turned toward the ceiling. Her armor expanded defensively. "That," she said quietly, "is not one of mine." The lights exploded again, and somewhere beyond the station walls, something enormous began moving through the darkness beneath the city. The sound beneath the colony came again, closer this time. The walls vibrated hard enough to crack open sections of the corridor floor. Dust drifted from the ceiling while distant screams echoed through the lower sectors of Vera 9. Elias looked at Valeth. "You said that thing isn't yours." "It is not." That answer somehow made this much worse. Valeth ignored him and extended one of her lower arms toward the air. Thin streams of blue light unfolded from her armor, forming a rotating holographic structure above her palm. The colony appeared in miniature, tower districts, mining tunnels, transit rails. Then something moved beneath it, a gigantic shape crawling under the city grid. Elias stared at the projection. "Oh, please tell me that's a map error." "It is beneath Sector 9, Valeth said quietly. "That is not the reassuring tone of someone describing a map error." The hologram suddenly distorted violently. Entire sections of the colony vanished from the display, not destroyed. Erased, static spread across the projection like a disease. Valeth's expression hardened instantly. It found her. Lyra tilted her head. "That sentence feels rude." The floor shook again. A loud metallic shriek echoed somewhere below them, followed by the sound of twisting steel. Civilians began running past the corridor entrance in panic. One man screamed, "Something S inside the walls." Elias immediately grabbed Lyra's hand. "We're leaving right now." Valeth stepped in front of them suddenly. "If you descend into the lower transit sectors, you will die." "Fantastic. The upper sectors are exploding, the lower sectors are haunted, and my evening is ruined." Lyra pointed upward. "Technically, your evening was ruined when the giant alien ship arrived." "Thank you, helpful child." The emergency lights flickered again. Then every electronic screen nearby activated at once. A face appeared across all of them simultaneously. Not human, not alien either, something in between. Its features constantly shifted like corrupted data struggling to imitate life. Multiple mouths formed and vanished across its pale surface while black eyes stared directly outward from every monitor. People nearby screamed again. The thing smiled. Throne signal detected. Its voice came from every speaker in the station at once. Genetic lock identified. Valith's armor expanded sharply around her body. No. The screens continued. Return the air. Then all the monitors exploded simultaneously. Glass rained across the corridor. Elias covered Lyra instinctively while smoke filled the hallway. What in the dead stars was that? Valith answered immediately. A harvester. That explains absolutely nothing. It is a servant organism. Servant to who? Valith hesitated, and that hesitation terrified Elias more than the explosions. Before she could answer, the colony lights outside abruptly died. Every tower, every street, darkness swallowed Vera 9. Only the massive warship above the atmosphere remained illuminated, casting faint blue light through the station windows. Then something huge moved outside. Elias saw it for only a second. A shadow sliding across the exterior structures between towers. Far too large, far too fast. The colony's emergency network crackled back to life. A terrified dispatcher shouted through static. All civilians, avoid the lower districts. Screaming interrupted the transmission. Then silence. Lyra looked strangely calm again, which Elias was beginning to deeply dislike. You've heard that voice before, haven't you? He asked her quietly. She nodded once. When I sleep. A cold sensation spread through Elias' chest. What does it say? Lyra looked down at her notebook. The pages were turning again by themselves. Symbols appeared across blank paper in glowing silver ink. Not written by her hand. It says, she whispered softly, open the door. Valith moved instantly. One of her upper arms extended outward as living metal unfolded into a blade taller than Elias himself. We must move now. No argument there. Another screech thundered beneath the colony, this time followed by impact. The corridor wall exploded inward. Metal and debris blasted across the hallway as something enormous forced itself through the structure from below. Elias grabbed Lyra and stumbled backward. At first he thought it was mechanical. Then he realized machines weren't supposed to breathe. The creature dragging itself through the wall resembled a massive skeletal insect formed from black metal and exposed flesh. Long mechanical limbs scraped against the floor while dozens of glowing white eyes opened across its body one after another. Its head unfolded like flower petals. Inside was another face. Human. Smiling. Oh, absolutely not, Elias whispered. The creature lunged. Valith intercepted it instantly. The corridor erupted in blue light as her blade collided against the monster's metallic limbs. The impact split the floor apart beneath them. Elias pulled Lyra backward while sparks and debris exploded through the station. Valith moved like something inhumanly ancient, 4 arms striking simultaneously, while gravity itself bent around her attacks. The creature slammed into the ceiling, shrieking in distorted electronic sounds. But it laughed too, actually laughed. Air detected, it screeched. Dismantle biological obstruction. Elias pointed at himself while retreating. I assume that's me, rude. The monster suddenly twisted unnaturally. Its spine snapped backward as several new limbs burst from its body. White eyes rolled toward Lyra all at once. Then the station gravity failed completely. Everyone lifted from the floor. Debris floated upward around them. Elias grabbed a railing desperately with one arm while clutching Lyra with the other. Oh good, he groaned. Now gravity's broken. Valith looked toward Lyra immediately. You are destabilizing the sector. I'm trying not to. The silver glow inside Lyra's eyes intensified. Outside the station windows, the stars themselves appeared distorted now, as though space around the colony was bending inward. Then Elias noticed something horrifying. The shadow outside the colony towers was no longer moving away. It was circling them. Something impossibly massive beneath the city had become aware of exactly where they were. The entire colony trembled like a dying machine. Outside the shattered station windows, Vera 9 was collapsing into darkness sector by sector. Massive cracks of silver light spread across the surface of the colony, while gravity storms twisted mining towers into spirals of screaming metal. Elias could barely breathe. The gigantic shadow beneath the city was rising. Valith stood motionless in the floating debris, her glowing blade aimed toward the monstrous creature crawling across the corridor walls. The thing screeched with dozens of voices at once while its white eyes locked onto Lyra. "Open the throne." "No," Lyra answered simply. The creature lunged again. This time Lyra moved first. The station lights exploded outward in a burst of silver energy. A gravitational shockwave slammed through the corridor hard enough to hurl the creature backward through 3 steel walls. Silence followed. Everyone stared at Lyra, including Lyra. "I did not mean to do that." Elias slowly blinked. "Well, that's concerning." The colony shook violently again. Then came the sound. A heartbeat, not mechanical, not biological, something impossibly huge pulsing beneath the planet itself. Valith's expression darkened immediately. "The prison is opening." Elias turned sharply. "You said the throne was supposed to contain this thing." "It was." Past tense is terrifying. The floor beneath them cracked apart completely. Far below the city, enormous rings of white light rotated deep under the colony foundations. Ancient structures buried beneath Vera 9 awakened one by one, illuminating impossible geometric mechanisms stretching farther than Elias could see. The colony had never been a mining station. It had been built on top of something ancient. Lyra suddenly grabbed her head. The silver light in her eyes intensified violently. Elias rushed toward her. "Lyra." Her voice came out layered with another voice beneath it. "It's awake." The walls began whispering. Thousands of voices, thousands of languages, all speaking simultaneously. Valith lowered her weapon slowly. For the first time since Elias met her, the terrifying warlord actually looked afraid. The hollow mind. The massive biomechanical warship above the atmosphere suddenly moved, not attacking, retreating. Entire sections of the enormous vessel turned away from the colony as if fleeing. Elias stared upward through the broken ceiling. "Your people are leaving. They know what comes next." "That's comforting." The heartbeat beneath the planet grew louder. Then the city split open. Far beyond the colony towers, the surface of Vera 9 unfolded mechanically like petals opening around a black abyss beneath the planet crust. Something enormous was down there, something looking back. The stars above the colony began disappearing one by one, not exploding, vanishing, consumed by growing black distortions spreading across the sky. Lyra's notebook floated upward from her hands. Every page flipped rapidly until stopping at the final sheet, a drawing Elias had never seen before, a door, and behind it, eyes, countless eyes. The layered voice inside Lyra whispered again, "It is hungry." Valith stepped forward immediately. "The child must seal the throne willingly." Elias turned toward her furiously. "She's 8. The alternative is extinction." "Fantastic, love these options." The colony shook harder than ever before. The abyss beneath the city began rising upward. Not a creature, a structure. A colossal black throne surrounded by rotating gravitational rings larger than skyscrapers. Ancient symbols burned across its surface while distorted time rippled around it like liquid. The endless throne, and chained behind it. Something alive. Elias felt his blood freeze. The hollow mind wasn't mechanical, it was worse. A gigantic consciousness suspended inside shifting darkness, formed from millions of moving faces endlessly merging together. Entire stars appeared trapped inside its body like swallowed fire. Then it noticed Lyra. Every voice stopped instantly. The silence hurt more than the noise. Lyra stepped forward slowly. Elias grabbed her arm immediately. "No." She looked up at him calmly. "Dad." "No." "If I don't, you are not sacrificing yourself for this thing." The hollow mind smiled, not with a mouth, with reality itself. The station around them began collapsing inward as gravity distorted uncontrollably. Entire buildings lifted into the air outside the colony. Valith suddenly removed the living crown from her own head and knelt before Elia's. It shocked him silent. "All my life," she said quietly, "I believed conquest gave civilizations purpose. I was wrong." The terrifying warlord looked toward Lyra almost gently now. She deserves more than becoming another prison. Elia stared at the collapsing sky above them, then at his daughter, then at the throne. And finally, for the first time in years, he stopped running. He exhaled slowly. "You know what I've learned tonight?" Lyra tilted her head. "What?" "I am unbelievably underqualified for this situation." She smiled faintly. "True." Then Elias noticed something. The gravitational stabilizers, buried beneath the throne mechanisms. Old colony infrastructure connected directly into the ancient machine. An idea formed instantly. Dangerous, probably stupid. Definitely stupid, which meant it might work. Elias looked toward Valith. "If I overload the colony core into the throne's gravity rings, the backlash would reseal the prison. And," Valith hesitated, "you would not survive the detonation." Lyra immediately shook her head. "No." Elias crouched beside her. "Hey, you can't." "I know. You promised you wouldn't leave me alone again." That nearly broke him, but he smiled anyway. "Kid, your mother once married an orbital engineer who thought safety regulations were creative suggestions. You inherited bad luck." Lyra started crying silently. Elias wiped her tears carefully. "Listen to me. You are not a weapon. You are not a throne. You are just my daughter." The hollow mind began tearing against its restraints. The stars above Vera 9 distorted violently. Time was running out. Valith placed one hand over her chest. "I will protect her." Elias looked at the terrifying alien warrior for a long moment, then nodded once. "Don't let her eat expired colony noodles." "What? She'll do it." Lyra sniffed loudly. "They still taste fine. They glow in the dark. That's flavor." Despite everything, Valith almost smiled. Elias kissed Lyra's forehead one final time. Then he ran. Through collapsing corridors, through floating debris, through the dying heart of Vera 9. The reactor core beneath the colony screamed as he overloaded every remaining stabilizer manually. Warning sirens howled around him, while gravitational energy surged into the ancient throne systems. Above him the hollow mind roared. Then came light, blinding silver light. The entire colony vanished inside it. For one endless second, Elias saw everything: galaxies, dead civilizations, ancient wars. And his wife smiling beside Lyra years ago beneath ordinary colony lights. Then silence. When Lyra opened her eyes again, the sky above Vera 9 was calm. The black distortions were gone. The throne had vanished. Only stars remained. Real stars. Valith stood quietly beside her at the edge of the ruined colony platform. Lyra stared upward for a long time, then whispered softly, "He saved everybody." Valith bowed her head once. "Yes." Years later, travelers crossing the outer systems would sometimes speak about a silver-eyed girl and a horned warrior wandering together between dying worlds, helping abandoned colonies survive the aftermath of forgotten galactic wars. And whenever Lyra looked up at the stars, she still heard her father's final words echoing gently in her mind. "You are just my daughter. Stay tuned until we meet again in another story."